In this video, we're going to do some more TSI math practice problems. Problem 1. What is the distance between points A and B on the grid below? So there's actually two ways that you can find the distance between 2 points. If you're given a graph, it's a lot easier. If you're not given a graph, there's another way. But we'll start with utilizing the graph. So first I'm going to draw a right triangle including these points. So here's our right triangle. And then you just want to count the squares on the sides. So the bottom is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that side is 5. The vertical side is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and the side we're looking for is the distance between A and B. Now there's something that's called the Pythagorean theorem, which states that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this side here is actually your a, this side is your b, and the side we're looking for, which is the distance between a and b, is c. So a is 5, so you got 5 squared, plus b, which is 4 squared, equals c squared. 5 squared is 5 times 5, that's 25. 4 squared is 4 times 4, that's 16. 25 plus 16 is 41, equals c squared. Now we don't want c squared, we want c. So you need to take the square root of both sides here. That gives you the square root of 41 equals c. So that is the distance between those 2 points. Now let's say you didn't have the graph. You just had the points A and B and they just list the points. So if you look at point A here, the x coordinate is 2 and the y coordinate is 3. So A is 2, 3. If we look at B, that is negative 3, negative 1. So that point is negative 3, negative 1. Okay, so I'll draw the points over here again. So A is 2, 3. B is negative 3, negative 1. All right, so we're going to call this x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. Now the formula for finding the distance between 2 points, now again this is if you don't have a graph to work with, you just have 2 points. You can still find the distance between them. The formula is the difference between the x values squared plus the difference between the y values squared. So we got square root of x2, which is negative 3, minus x1, which is 2 squared, plus y2, which is negative 1, minus y1, which is 3 squared. So d equals the square root. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5 squared, plus negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, and that's squared. Negative 5, quantity squared is negative 5 times negative 5. That is a positive 25. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. So we get the same answer either way. But obviously if you have a graph, it's better to use the first way. Otherwise you have to use this other way. Problem 2, find the midpoint of points A and B. Okay, so first I would start by identifying what A is. Again, the x value is 2. The y value is 3. So this point here is 2, 3. And I'm going to call this x1, y1. And point B is -3, -1. So you got -3, -1. I'm going to call this point x2, y2. So now you need to use a formula to find the midpoint. So midpoint formula is pretty easy actually. You just add the two x values together and divide by 2. Add the two y values together and divide by 2. So the midpoint is going to be x1, which is 2. x2 is -3. So 2 plus -3 all over 2. y1 is 3. y2 is -1. We divide that by 2. So we get the midpoint is 2 plus -3 is -1. That's -1/2. And we got 3 plus -1. That's the same thing as just 3 minus 1, or just 2. 2 over 2. And this actually simplifies to -1/2, 1. So -1/2, 1. So if you graph that, -1/2, 1 would be right here. So this right here is your midpoint. Problem 3. What quadrant is point A located in? Okay, now point A is actually in quadrant 1. Yeah, this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, this is quadrant 4. So just for your information, that's how you label the quadrants. But the quadrant that we want is quadrant 1 for A. Problem 4. What is the slope of the line passing through points A and B? Okay, if you're given a graph, it's a lot easier to find the slope than if you're just given 2 points. But if you're just given 2 points, you can also find the slope. So I'll show you both ways. All right, so what you want to do first is find the change in the y value. The change in the y value is equal to the number of squares you go up from B to A. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 4. So change in y is 4, and then you want to do your change in x value from B to A. So your x is changing by, that triangle means change. Change in x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change in x is 5. So your slope, and they actually use the variable m for slope, so you'll see that a lot. That's just going to be your change in y value over your change in x value. So change in y is 4, and change in x is 5. So your slope is 4/5. And another thing too, I should probably mention that your y is going up, so that is actually a positive direction for y. So that's going to be a positive slope. So if you have a line like this, this is a positive slope. If you have something like this is a negative slope. Okay, and obviously what we have here is a positive slope. So that's something you should know. Okay, so now we're going to do it if you didn't actually have a graph and you just had a couple points. So again, point A is 2, 3. So x is 2, y is 3. So 2, 3. And again, this is x1, that is y1. And then we have b, which is -3, -1. So x is -3, y is -1. this is x2, y2. So if we just have the 2 points, so A is 2, 3, and B is -3, -1. So again, x1, y1, x2, y2. Your slope is change in the y values, or y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1. Okay, so y2 is -1 minus y1, that's 3. x2 is -3. x1 is 2. So our slope is -1 minus 3 is -4. -3 minus 2 is -5. A negative divided by a negative, that is the same answer that we got the other way. So obviously the graphical method's a lot easier. But if you're only given 2 points, this is the way you have to do it. Problem 5. Reflect point B across the y-axis. What are the new coordinates? Okay, so this right here is the y-axis. So if we reflect B across the y-axis, your point is going to be on the other side of y, on the right side of y, a distance of 3 away. So it's going to be right here. We'll call this B prime. So that is your reflection. Now they want to know what the new coordinates are. So your coordinates are x equals 3, y equals -1. Yeah, so 3, -1 is your reflection.